Hello everybody, happy Christmas. This is a story called Cookies at Christmas. Michelle, wake up, Hector shook his sleeping sister. What's going on? She grumbled as she rubbed her eyes. Santa's downstairs. He pulled on her arm and they quickly tiptoed downstairs to find a white bearded man stacking presents under the tree along a red-nosed reindeer. It is Santa, Michelle whispered. Only he's not very happy. Santa actually seemed annoyed, muttering to the reindeer, "Another house without cookies. Honestly, Rudolph, sometimes I feel so underappreciated. I get millions of letters asking for gifts, but how many thank you notes do I receive afterwards? And it seems there are less and less cookies year after year." Santa shook his head. "Sometimes I really think I should just cancel Christmas. Too much work and not enough thanks." He finished taking all of the gifts out of his bag and turned to go up the chimney. Rudolph followed him, but at the last minute turned to look at Michelle and Hector and waved. "Do you think he meant it?" Hector asked as they started going back to their beds. "About cancelling Christmas?" "Nah," she shook her head. "Santa's probably just having a bad night." But truth be told, Michelle was worried, and as she fell back to sleep, she told herself that next year she would remember to leave out cookies. For the second time that night, Michelle was awakened by Hector. "What?" she grumbled. "I need your help." An unfamiliar voice. Michelle opened her eyes and she saw a red-nosed reindeer was standing by her bedside. "You both heard Santa tonight, right? How he wants to cancel Christmas?" They nodded. "Well, he did it. As soon as we got back to the North Pole, he told everybody off at the workshop. After today, Christmas is cancelled. I need your help to get him to change his mind." "But how?" Hector asked. "I've got a plan." Rudolph handed him a postcard. "First, hop on me back. I need to take you two to the North Pole." The North Pole was nothing like the postcard Rudolph had given them. Yes, there were Christmas trees and snow everywhere, but there were no lights, no decorations, and nobody. "Where is everyone?" Hector asked. "I told you. Santa sent everyone home. No Christmas means no work." "Well, wait. How are we supposed to help save Christmas by ourselves?" Michelle asked. "Well, there are still some cookies around. They're over at Merry Lane, but there's not many of them." Michelle and Hector blinked. "The cookies?" "Yeah, Santa never eats the cookies that the kids leave out. He brings them back here, and with some elf magic, they become alive, and they help with all the Christmas stuff." Rudolph frowned. "But cookies are delicate, and with less kids leaving them out for Santa every year, we've got less and less helpers." Hector and Michelle felt guilty. They were two of the kids that had forgotten to put out the cookies this year. "Here we are," Rudolph said, stopping at a building. "The milk carton?" Hector read. He read the sign on the front door and looked at Rudolph confused, but the reindeer had already gone inside. The siblings' jaw dropped when they stepped in. There were cookies everywhere. Samosas, biscottis, oatmeal raisin, chocolate chips. Some were crumbling and some were whole, but they were all alive and as big as they were, with eyes and mouths and noses. Some drank cups of milk while others played pool or shot darts. "Guys, over here!" Rudolph called them over to where a group of very grumpy gingerbread men sat around drinking straight from milk cartons. "Gingerbread, this is Michelle and Hector. They are going to help us save Christmas." "How?" the gingerbread with the bow tie made of icing asked. "Rudolph has a plan," Hector answered. The reindeer rubbed the back of his neck with his hoof. "Actually, bringing you two here was the plan." "Oh, wait. So you don't have a plan as to how to save Christmas?" Michelle frowned. "Forget about it," a gumdrop button-decorated cookie said. Santa's mind is made up. Christmas is over. Our jobs are finished and we may as well just wait to crumble. He took a long drink of his milk. Your jobs? We're just Christmas cookies, said Button. If there's no Christmas, what is the point of us? Michelle and Hector looked around the sad little group, looked at Rudolph, and then at each other. They didn't know what they had to do, but they knew they had to do something. Sighing, Michelle told a gingerbread with a top hat to hand her a glass of milk. She had to think of a master plan. Rudolph got in touch with all the other reindeers, and with the gingerbread men, the plan was set in motion. They delivered handwritten letters to Michelle and Hector's friends, explaining the situation and asking them to put out cookies for Santa, even though it was after Christmas. They did, and those friends wrote to their other friends who did the same thing. It wasn't as many children as Santa saw in a night, but for a little boy, girl, and a red-nosed reindeer and some gingerbread cookies, they did pretty well. Now they only hoped that it wasn't too late. Michelle knocked on Santa's door. Her, Hector, and the gingerbread man with the top hat, whose name was Hank, held their breath while Santa opened the door. There stood the white-bearded man out of his normal red suit in a pair of blue jeans and a white t-shirt. Hector cleared his throat. Santa, we're sorry that we didn't set out cookies this year. We didn't mean to be ungrateful. We didn't realise all of the work that went into Christmas, Michelle continued, and the help that you needed. And we're not the only ones. Michelle handed Santa a stack of handwritten notes from their friends, thanking Santa and everyone at the North Pole for their hard work. Please don't cancel Christmas. The North Pole and everyone here needs you. And look, we got you help. Hector waved his hand at the newly animated cookies that were behind him. It was hard work, but with the help of their friends and the new cookies that were set out, they were given life and brought over to the North Pole. Santa smiled and bowed down to hug the two siblings. Thank you for all your kindness. I was feeling sad when I cancelled Christmas. He petted Rudolph's head. I assumed that you had something to do with this too, old friend. Rudolph smiled. Not just me. The other reindeers, some of the elves, and, a couple of cookies worked all night. Well, thank them and tell them to come over for some hot chocolate. Our new and old friends should get to know each other before we start talking about plans for next year's Christmas. So Christmas isn't cancelled, Michelle and Hector said together. Santa gave his signature ho, ho, ho laugh. No, Christmas isn't cancelled. As long as there are kind girls and boys like you two, Christmas will continue. Michelle and Hector were able to drink 2 cups of hot chocolate with the cookies and reindeers before Rudolph had to take them home. They'd forgotten it was Christmas Day and their parents will be waiting for them to open all of their presents. They never forgot to put cookies out again for Santa. The end.